Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria, and I'm a librarian for Leicestershire Libraries. Now, I hope that you've all got yourself perhaps a cup of tea, perhaps a cup of coffee, perhaps just a glass of water, the refreshment of your choice, because we are here this afternoon to have a chat about some books. So I can't wait to share with you what we've got. The books that we're going to talk about, they're both available on BorrowBox, which is the app that we use to access Leicestershire Libraries ebooks and e-audiobooks. So I hope you'll check that out afterwards. But also, I do have a special guest with me. So I am going to contact her now.
Hi,
Carol.
hello.
Hi.
I'm also a librarian, and I'm going to be talking to you today about this lovely city written by Louise Hare. Beautiful
brilliant.
cover.
I cannot wait to hear about that, Carol. That sounds really exciting.
It is. It's a brilliant book. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, wonderful. So shall I go ahead and share what I've been reading this month?
Great.
Okay. So what I've got here is this book, and it's called The Shelf. And it's by Helly Acton, who's quite a new writer, I think. So the cover says 6 women, 4 weeks, 1 house. Who will be left on the shelf? So it already sets us up for quite a dramatic opening. So let me tell you what this book is about. It is about a reality TV show, and a particularly cruel reality TV show. So our protagonist, Amy, she is really wanting to keep up with her friends. She sees all her friends on Instagram, having lovely family lives with their babies, their new babies and their new husbands, and she wants the same for herself. But unfortunately for Amy, she is with a chap called Jamie, who is not such a nice guy. And she really thinks he's going to pop the big question, Carol, but unfortunately, he doesn't. He says he's going to take her on holiday. Yeah. He takes her for this surprise, and then he dumps her on TV.
Oh no!
That is not what you want. That is not what you want. So he. The premise of this reality TV show, The Shelf, is that these 6 women in total get dumped on film in front of a studio audience, and they can choose then to stay in this kind of Big Brother style house for 6 weeks and complete a series of humiliating challenges, or they can just have the footage wiped. Now you might be wondering, why would anyone stay on such a horrible reality TV show? Well, the answer is that immediately they get £10,000 if they agree to stay on the show. And if they manage to make it to the end and become the keeper, they get £1 million. So one lady will get £1 million for doing this. So throughout this, obviously, she has to complete these various challenges. One of the challenges is they get one of those living dolls. I don't know if you've heard of them. They use them in some schools, particularly in American schools, I think, to teach children about childcare, teach teenage girls in particular about childcare. So they cry and make a mess and so on. But they're given these dolls to look after these women on live reality TV, and they do various levels of well with that. I mean, there's various different characters in this. There's a lady called Jackie who's a lawyer, and she just does not take it seriously at all. In fact, she puts her living doll baby in the freezer at one point. So they do various levels of success.
That's
I did almost very drastic. I did almost stop reading at one point because I just felt so angry because Amy, she had to make a sorry supper for her ex-boyfriend who dumped her on live television, and I was like, I just can't keep reading this. And then I managed to power on through, and it was really quite invigorating actually, and surprising. I just didn't think I was going to like this book at all when I started reading it, but then as soon as I got past that first chapter, I was completely hooked, and I just couldn't stop, Carol. I just could not stop reading it. So it was very good, and I do recommend it. Quite a feminist book.
Yes, it's not the sort of book you would normally pick up off the shelf to read, but you obviously enjoyed it.
For me, but, I think it shows the value of trying something different, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I've got some questions for you.
Oh, okay, I'm ready. I am prepared.
So, did you think the main character was a realistically cast stereotypical woman who just wants to get married, or do you think it was a bit over the top?
So when I started reading it, as I say, the first chapter, she's like constantly checking her Instagram feed. She's constantly like checking her Facebook feed, seeing what her friends are up to and wanting to meet these like high standards and things like that. And yeah, I at first I was like, oh, this is a bit over the top. But then as I got to know her character better, I found that actually it was quite realistic. And she did have her own interests as well. So the main character, she wanted to be a travel writer, particularly do travel writing about Thailand. So yeah, she was realistic, I would say. She was well rounded in that way. It kind of saved it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how well did the book use the characters' challenges in different ways, and what the women, should be, and what they should want essentially out of life?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of the challenges, apart from the baby challenge, were about them kind of learning how to be like the ideal, almost like 1950s housewife. So one of the challenges was to do an ideal tea party for a celebrity and things like that. Yeah. And I thought it was. I thought it was a really interesting use of the challenges because it was kind of pointing to the things that are still expected of women in particular, or people in general in society today, the kind of stereotypes that we expect people to conform to, but then really like almost satirizing that and kind of turning it on its head a little bit. So I did think that the challenges were very interesting. And I mean, as a narrative idea as well, it kind of keeps you reading. You're like, what's the next challenge going to be? What's going to happen?
Yes. So, so what do you think the novel is trying to say about modern society? And do you think the novel works in what it's trying to say?
Yeah, I think to some extent it does work quite well in what it's saying about modern society. I think it's trying to say that perhaps we haven't come as far in modern society as perhaps we might have thought that we had. We think we're all kind of enlightened and modern, but the expectations that we have of people and women in particular, or different people in different roles in society, we have these particular expectations. And I think it's trying to say, that still exists, and that's still a thing that's happening. And have we really come as far as we think we have? And to that end, I think it is quite feminist, because otherwise it could just be complete voyeurism. And on that point as well, it is really told from the point of view of the women in the house, rather than being told from like a voyeuristic point of view from outside. If Helly had decided to do that, I don't think I would have been able to get on board quite so much. I just wanted to mention as well that there is a bit of a twist about, I don't know, about 3/4 of the way through, where another housemate comes into the house as well. She does rub everyone up the wrong way in this Big Brother style house. So it's worth reading on to meet her as well. Very interesting.
So what did you think about the types, the women types that were doing the challenges? Were they different, or were they stereotypical women, different types of women in society, or were they all similar to the main character?
Yeah, so she'd really I suppose Amy, our protagonist, is like our principal woman, kind of very general kind of every woman character. But then we have got Gemma, who is like an Instagram star who likes to photograph herself constantly and put loads of tweets and stuff and Insta posts out there. We've got Jackie, who's a lawyer, very career focused. We've got Lauren, I think it is, who's a DJ. We've got other characters who are an older lady who's like already got grown-up children and things like that as well. What they have in common is they've all been dumped live on television, cruelly by their partners. But I mean, there's different kinds of characters, different kinds of women. But I suppose in a way it's almost like it's played so that the producer of the show, kind of the show's like creators
Yeah.
have chosen these women to be different sorts of women,
Okay.
and they brand them different things. So for example, they brand Jackie selfish, and things like that. So and Amy, I think she's branded as needy or something like that, and then the older lady who's got the grown-up children is boring. So they
Okay.
do brand them like that, but it's not them themselves that are doing that, and it's not kind of shown as the author doing that even. It's like almost taken away from that by this reality TV show
Yeah.
idea
Yes.
that they're putting them into boxes, which actually seems quite likely if this
Yeah.
show were to ever be
Yeah.
produced as well. I really hope not, but ethical nightmare, I think, if it
Yeah.
were.
Sounds like it. Okay, so the novel has been described as being funny, feminist, and all too retellable about our obsession with settling down and our battle that we have with accepting ourselves. How true do you think that is?
Well, I think that's a really good description of this novel, actually, because I think the whole thing about settling down, what Amy seems to learn, and I don't know if this requires a spoiler alert, but what Amy seems to learn throughout the novel is to kind of try things out and almost live in the present rather than thinking, oh, I want to get married, I want to have children, and that being the milestone,
Yes,
rather than
yes,
so rather than getting the relationship that she needs in place
yes,
first,
yes,
or
yes,
she's always thinking ahead to the next kind of life milestone. And I think that is a really easy trap to fall into. And I think the author makes a really good point about people constantly checking on what their friends are doing and constantly having access to that. And perhaps, it's the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I think she makes a lot of good points about
mm,
that in this
mm,
novel. Yeah.
good. So, did the book make you feel empowered as a woman? Did it make you feel angry, frustrated, happy, or did it make you feel anything else?
So I went through a lot of emotions. It was a roller coaster of emotions, like
Yeah,
all the best
can
books.
imagine.
I,
Yeah,
I, I felt really happy at one point. I was like, oh yeah, the women are all working
yeah,
together and it's going to be great. And then I felt angry and frustrated when she had to do the sorry supper for Jamie. And I felt worried at the end, like, oh, they're all just going to drift apart at the end and never see each other again, or oh, I don't know. It's so many emotions
yeah,
going through my head when I was reading this book, and I think that was one of the things that really kept me
yes,
reading
yeah,
about it right
yeah,
until the end.
yeah, sounds good.
We've just had a question through, actually.
Oh, go on then.
The question is, do you think it would make a good book club book? So I will answer that one, and I think it could be a good book club book, especially if you want a kind of a lighter read and you didn't
Mhm,
want to go so kind of heavy and literary, because I know a lot of people are having a bit of trouble kind of settling down to read in lockdown. You've got a lot of distractions at home, but if you want something quite light, quick to read and just really emotional and compelling, it's good for that. And also there's, like we've been discussing, Carol, there's a lot of different
mhm,
points to consider.
yes,
it's
yeah,
it's kind of got all these different layers to it.
mhm,
You can see it from just a surface
yeah,
perspective, just an
mm,
entertaining read, or you can
yeah,
look a bit deeper into the
mm,
feminist
mm,
aspects of it and the
yeah,
societal aspects of
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
yeah, I think it would make
Yeah,
a
because
pretty good
it's
book.
you'd look at that book and you really wouldn't expect it to be a good reading group book, would you? You know,
No,
from the
just
cover
it
because it was a
looks
bit
just a
light and
light read.
frothy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but
Oh,
it's not.
so someone called Sheena Jacob has just asked us a question as well. She
Okay.
asks, does it have mystery? Now, I wouldn't call The Shelf a mystery novel. There's no murder, there's no crime of any kind. It does have twists to it, and one of the reasons it keeps you reading is because you want to know what's going to happen next, and it isn't obvious. And there's a good reason as well that I am not talking about the later parts of the novel, because that is where it really happens, where all the twists come out, all the turns come out, and mysteries are revealed. And honestly, the ending is so satisfying. I loved it. It just made me feel on top of the world when I read the ending to this book. So yes, I would say in some terms it does have mystery, but it's not a murder mystery. I wouldn't go
No,
that far.
no, no.
So don't expect any crimes or anything like that, but do expect a kind of emotional roller
Yeah,
coaster of a novel.
good. So, do you think you'll ever watch a reality or a TV game show in the same light again, or do you think you'll steer clear of them completely?
So I would love to say that I am way above watching reality TV, but I'm really not. I love a bit of reality TV. It's my guilty pleasure
It's your
sometimes.
guilty pleasure, and why
And
not?
I actually can see, Carol, this being a reality TV show, ethical dilemmas aside,
Yeah.
I can see this actually being made, and it would make a great film as well.
Yes, well, you never know.
But yeah, I think I will look at it a bit differently, reality TV, because it does make you think what goes on behind the scenes, because the producers are involved, the editing as well.
Yes,
So
yeah,
they edit things down, and then people respond to that in the
yeah,
novel on
yeah,
social media.
yeah,
And how they respond is really affected by how it's been edited and how the people have been portrayed by those editors and
yes,
producers of the
yeah,
show.
yeah.
So it makes you realize kind of how you're almost being manipulated as a viewer when you watch
Mm,
reality TV.
mm,
So
mm.
watch with care, I would
Oh,
say.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to look at This Lovely City by Louise Hare, who I said is a debut author. The book's published by HarperCollins. It's a very, very different book to what Victoria's been reading. It's not a fun book in the same way. But when they say don't judge a book by a cover, you must absolutely, because this cover is just wonderful
Mm,
and it reflects.
beautiful.
In fact, in some ways, it doesn't reflect what's inside, but what's inside is a really, really brilliant read. Um, the book's essentially set in London.
Mhm.
If any of you know London particularly well, you'll probably recognise some of the landmarks. There's the Lyceum Theatre, Waterloo Bridge, and the jazz clubs in Soho. There's two main characters, Laurie
Mhm.
and Evie. Now, Evie is a girl who lives with her mum. They have quite a difficult relationship, which I won't talk too much about because obviously it'll spoil the plot. Laurie, I know he's completely different. He's come over to the UK on the Windrush, and he comes to the UK expecting to be welcomed with open arms, to have
Mm.
a job, find work, and the reality is it's just not like that at all.
Because they've been welcomed over
Yes,
in the
yes,
Windrush, haven't they?
yes,
It's
yes.
it's not anything else.
No,
Mm.
no, he comes expecting far more than he gets. When he gets here, he meets a friend on Waterloo Bridge,
Mm.
and he goes to lodgings. Well, his lodgings are a sort of bombed out house. It's a bit of a hovel. There's rats, there's rat droppings everywhere. It's really,
Mm.
really quite
Grim.
awful.
Mm.
They struggle to get work. He does eventually get work as a postman, which is his main day job. But to earn a bit of extra money, he does a little bit of moonlighting at night. So he plays in the jazz clubs in Soho, which is where he goes in the evenings. And he also does a little bit of black market dealing. He doesn't actually do the dealing, but he delivers the packages. Now, the book is it's a combination. It's a murder, so it's a
Mm.
murder mystery. It's also it is a murder mystery. It is a
This
love
one is a murder
story.
mystery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely murder. It's a love story. It's about two people growing together, and it's also about time and place. You get a feel of what it would have been like to have lived in the 50s and the struggles that the black community in particular had. Although there is a lot of struggling in the white population as well, which does come through. It's quite sympathetic to everything. Um, but essentially, it starts with the crime. So it's a good crime book in that. The first chapter, it sets the scene. It's
Mm.
1950s. Laurie's finished his post round. He goes off on his bike to deliver a parcel. And as he comes back, he finds a lady in distress, and there's a little baby, a body in a pond. Now, the body is a
No.
black baby.
Mhm.
It's dead, and Laura's obviously very upset about that. Reports it to the police, and a police investigation ensues. Now, unfortunately, although Laurie was the one who found the baby, he becomes the main
Oh.
suspect, and that is
Mm.
because he is black.
Right.
So it's not just him, although he's the main suspect. The whole black community gets dragged into this crime, and they are stalked constantly by the police, and it's really quite awful. And even Evie and her own mother are dragged into the investigation. Like I say, I won't go too much into that because obviously it'll spoil it. And the murderer is not revealed till the very end. So if you want to find out who it is, you have got to read to the end. But in that, the story builds from 1948 as Laurie arrives in London, and he meets Evie. They meet at a party. She's only 16 then, so she's quite young. But they get together and they start to go out, and he starts to take her to the jazz clubs where he does his plays his clarinet, and that's quite a different scene. It's almost a juxtaposition from the day. You've got the day where there's still a lot of poverty in all communities. There's still rationing. There's still effects of the war. There's craters where houses once stood and all that sort of thing. But of an evening when they go out and they go to these jazz clubs, it doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, pink or purple. Everybody is accepted for what they are, and it's obviously a good place to be, and that's where they make quite a few of their friends. So the story evolves from 1948 when they first meet up to 1950 when Laurie makes this discovery of the baby, and it's just how their relationship builds and the things that they have to put up with within society, the prejudices and all that sort of thing. But I'm making it sound really grim, but it's very, very good.
Sheena's just asked a hilarious question. I think it's in reference to you talking about the rats.
Oh yes.
She's just asked, does she call the Pied Piper?
Well, there is a bit of a Pied Piper because they all get the brushes out and go to clean it all up. It's almost quite unbelievable, actually. One of the main characters, Rose, she is a white wife. She's married to a white man who doesn't like any of the blacks at all, and he thinks they shouldn't be there, and he's not a nice man. But she's the one who brings all the people from the Windrush and takes them to their places of where they're going to live and what have you. And she does go in and take a brush and sweep it up, and then they have like a cleaning party. But it's quite grim. It's quite grim.
Sure.
So yeah. It's
Jo says that's right up her street. Jo Barber.
She likes that. Jo Barber. She will thoroughly enjoy this book.
Yeah. So I've got a few questions for you, Carol.
Yep.
So it sounds quite historically based. Is this based on a true story, this one?
It isn't based on a true story. The characters are all fictitious, but I think where it's the truth comes in what London was at that time in 1948, when these, as I said earlier, when the Windrush people came from the Caribbean. A lot of them had fought in the war for us. Their friends, family, relatives, and Laurie's brother, in fact, has died in, I think he was in the RAF. The expectation that they wanted from the rest of the Londoners, they just did not get. So I think it is true in what people were experiencing at that time, but it isn't based on any particular one person's true life, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. So, but did anything surprise you about 1950s London that you read?
It did. I didn't really know a lot about the Windrush. I know there's been a lot going off in the news recently, which is one of the reasons I wanted to read this, because I felt I needed to know. And I know it's fictitious, but it's the fact that they were still just coming out of the war. You tend to forget how close 1950 was to the war. There was, like I said, there was still rationing. There was a lot of poverty, and a lot of the women. One of the characters, she helped in the war. She did some war work, but as soon as her husband came home, she was back in the house, no work, dinner on the table, 5 o'clock when he came in. So the stereotypes which we were talking about earlier were there in the 50s, and everything went back
very
to
real, very real. So we talked about the kind of crime murder mystery aspect of this. Would you say this is just a murder mystery, or would you say it was something a bit more than that?
I think it's a bit more than that. There is a crime, and as I say, it's right at the beginning, and you don't know the murderer until the very end, which again is a good crime novel. So yes, it's crime. and that is always in the background. But I think it's a little bit more than that. It's looking at society. It's looking at how the black people were treated by society when they came to London.
Yes.
So there's a lot, but within that, I think there's a lot of hope. I think Laurie, I mean, it was fate really that he found this baby. It was just, that time and place. He was just in the wrong place at the right time, or the right place at the wrong time, or however you want to look at it. And it put paid to all his plans. But even that eventually comes right. And it's almost trying to say that although things are bad, there was hope to get better. So it's and the love, the companionship that he had with his friends that he came from Jamaica with, the communities that stuck together and helped each other out. So there's a lot in there. Yeah. So I wouldn't buy it as a crime book. Let's put it that way.
Okay. But when you were reading this, did any themes in it really strike a chord with you?
I think essentially, as I said earlier, it's the prejudices that the white people had for the black, and the lack of understanding, and it was almost treating them as a completely different race of people. There was towards the end of the book, you start to feel a bit of hope that they are starting to be accepted, but it's just things like they couldn't, we look at Black America and people couldn't sit next to each other on the buses and things like that. It's the same here. It's quite frightening that when you think it's not that long ago that we were so. They were so different. They couldn't even
segregated.
They couldn't even sit next to somebody in a coffee shop and have a coffee. It was, and working. The prejudice in work and promotion. If you wanted to go up the ladder, I mean, he was a postman, but the second there was any whiff that he might be involved in a murder, he was got rid of. It was just, very sad.
Interesting. Yeah, it does sound like it was really, really well researched. Like the historical aspects of it really like coming to life through the amount of research that Louise Hare has done on this novel. It sounds very, very good, and a good way to learn about that period as well. So how did you feel when you read this book? What kind of feelings came up for you when you read this?
A feeling of sadness, I think, to think that it actually happened, or it was, there were these poor people left their homeland and we treated them like that. I think that was initially, but on the other hand, I felt quite a bit of happy. It was nice because the love story between Laurie and Evie, they obviously do the usual thing, they fall out and get back together again, but the relationship builds, and that's brings the love in and the friendship that they have with other people. So it was quite mixed emotions, nothing like what you were having with your book, but it was,
maybe I'm just a dramatic person.
Yes, it was just a little bit more subtle than that, but it was very mixed emotions, and it was just, quite interesting to see how white women even were treated as soon as the war finished as well. So that's the author's quite sensitive to that side of it as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I can't wait to read this now. I'm quite excited.
Yeah.
That's all we've got for you today. We've got so we just were reviewing. Let's hold up our books, Carol, just to remind people. So we were reviewing The Shelf by Helly Acton, and what's your one as well?
This lovely city, which is London. By Louise Hare.
Brilliant. Okay,
you can definitely make a good reading group book.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. Both of these books are available on BorrowBox, aren't they, Carol? Which is the app that you can use. You access it via your tablet, mobile phone. You can go on your computer as well. And you just need your Leicestershire library card and PIN. And I know The Shelf is one of our campaign titles, which means there's no queues. You can just borrow it straight away, and loads of people can borrow it at once. I don't think This Lovely City is, but we've got plenty of copies. Yeah. So if you wanted to have a read of that one as well, all you need is your Leicestershire library card and PIN, and just have a look on BorrowBox. The Shelf as as well. You can get it as an audiobook as well as an ebook. So if you like listening to stories, perhaps when you're doing something else around the house, it's really good for that as well. So yeah, those are our books today. Thanks so much for joining me,
Yes,
Cole.
thank you.
Will you be back next month with me as
Are
well?
you going to invite me?
Oh, I think I am.
Well, in
It's
that
been
case, I will
great.
be. In that
Really
case, I
enjoyed
will be,
it.
yes. I have
Brilliant.
enjoyed it. It's
Okay.
been good fun.
Yeah,
Good
we've
fun.
had a great time. So I hope you've all enjoyed it at home as well. And yeah, hopefully see you next month.
Yes.
Have a good
Okay.
month.
Bye.